Hello, our esteemed viewers, and welcome to our top-notch education consultancy programs. We have been discussing the set books, the Samaritan, Fathers of Nations, A Silent Song and Other Stories, and Parliament of Owls. And of late we have been having a discussion on the Samaritan, and we are tracking the characters in the Samaritan. Because remember, when we know much about the backgrounds of these characters, then our student will be able to provide substantive background information when they are illustrating their essays. So in this particular program, we will still be tracking the characters. So far, we have tracked the character called Bembe, the Inspector of Police. We have also tracked the character of Ted and also Simua and Madame Narine in the Samaritan. In our today's program, I would like us to track another character, and that is Jaden. Jaden is the supreme, not the supreme, but actually the principal judge of Maracas municipality. This is a very controversial character because the first time we meet him, he looks a little composed when the mayor has convened a meeting in his boardroom together with the officials of the municipality to discuss the onslaught of the Samaritan and the damages that it can cause to the leaders in Maracas municipality. But we realize that Jaden takes things very lightly, and when he gives his opinion, he says that what they read now in the newspapers, those are the issues that the reporters usually have with politicians, and should not be taken very seriously. And that is the first time that we meet him. Then again, issues become volatile when the mayor now begins to tell them what has taken place and how people are uploading their corrupt practices of the leaders on the Samaritan app. And we get his, what we call the legal advice, whether these uploads online can actually form the basis of prosecution. He actually advises them that it is possible to have those uploads as evidence against the leaders when other leaders feel that that may not be substantive enough to prosecute them in the courts of law. Now, the second thing that we realize that they're worried and they are even thinking of banning the Samaritan app. His advice is that they cannot just ban it like that because if it is brought into the courts, again, it can bring a lot of problems. It is also said, that is what he believes, that it can form the basis of criminal prosecution when this matter or the Samaritan app is banned. So he advises them against banning the Samaritan app. Now, the first thing that we get from Jaden is that he's a good person. Even the way he dresses is well groomed, that is number one. So there is a lot of glittering bit in his life. Again, he's well educated, and he actually tells Bembe the same, that he is educated, and he feels that Bembe is less educated. So in terms of education, he's got the perfect kind of education and what he calls proper upbringing. So in essence, he's someone who is very proud, and when you look at him, when we meet him for the very first time, we think that he may not have issues with corruption. Mostly tells him that they are in this problem of corruption, and these uploads, they are in it together. But he says that he cannot be part of a criminal gang that he believes are actually supplying air to the municipality. So it paints that kind of character of a person who doesn't, who is not smeared by corruption. Of course, he admits it, that is not a reptile. All of them could be engaged in matters corruption, but it all depends on how you engage yourself on matters corruption. And therefore he tells them that these guys cannot, these municipal leaders cannot actually spread all their skeletons all around, and they expect him to clean them up. So he tells them that he's not going to clean up the mess that they have created, and therefore he is not part of that bit of corruption, the skeletons that they have strewn all over in the municipality. So from that perspective, he looks a very clean person. But that is just that. Now he actually believes that he is not part of their criminal activities. But you know, Mayor Mosi thinks that Jaden must be on their side. Even the other leaders feel that if the matter of the Samaritan comes to the courts, then Jaden is the person that they will rely on to salvage them. But he says that he cannot actually preempt the kind of judgment that he can make in the courts. So he will have to wait until the matter is presented before a court of law. Remember, there are also lawyers that have mobilized the citizenry to prosecute these leaders. And he says that it is going to be a wait and see, and when the matter comes to the courts, then he will make a stand on the same. So at this particular juncture, we realize that he's not part and he doesn't want to play ball together with these people. So Mosi has to get away to get him on their side. So this is what happens. When things are getting tougher for the leaders, then Mosi invites him so that they talk about other things like the impending vote of no confidence on him that has been prepared by Ramdai, Basdeo, and the other leaders. They want to pass a vote of no confidence on Mayor Mosi. So Mayor Mosi would want him to arrest these people because Mayor Mosi knows much about them in terms of corruption. There are a lot of corrupt deals that they have been engaged in, especially Basdeo, Ramdai, Simwa, and Ted. So you'd want a situation where when these leaders can be arrested and taken to the courts. And he invites Jaden so that if this matter of Ramdai, Basdeo, Simwa, and Ted are brought before the courts, then these people should be arrested and probably jailed. But remember that Jaden feels that that is not the best approach and is not going to play ball. Now, finally, Mayor Mosi mentions something about a corruption that had actually involved Jaden. And this is what we call the grains corruption. It was a major corruption. Actually, the designer of this corruption is Jaden himself. What happened is that he sent his girlfriend Ivy to apply for the tender of trying to control pests that were actually ravaging the so-called the municipal farms. And these farms were growing maize or corn and rice. And therefore, these rats, the pests, were actually ravaging. So when Ivy, who is a girlfriend to Jaden, went, he was refused the opportunity to supply the pests or to kill the pests that were actually ravaging the farm. So what happens is that after that, they couldn't accept that because there were no rats. But again, when this matter reaches Jaden, they come up with another idea. And this idea now is to rear the rats. So they reared the rats in their farm, the so-called the prime orchard farm. And when they released these rats to the farms, actually the grains were properly damaged. The so-called the corn and the rice were properly damaged. And therefore, after some time, the municipal council felt that there was a need actually to deal with these pests, the rats. So when Ivy went for the second time, there was that bit that it was a kind of single sourcing. When Ivy took this thing to Mayor Mosi, and Mayor Mosi finally had to accept to take this matter and also to give this tender to Ivy. And we know that Ivy is a girlfriend to Jaden. And when other people were allowed to be part of the tendering process, Ivy went to court claiming that he had used a lot of money when he did her first application. And therefore, at this level, Ivy was single-sourced to supply what we call the pesticides to kill the rodents and the pests that were ravaging the farm. So when this happens now, they now released a lot of rats. And remember that this farm that belonged to the municipality was terribly ravaged. The idea behind this was to make sure that they create a necessary shortage of grain so that the prime orchard farm that is known for importing grains would actually be given the tender now to supply the grains. I remember that Jaden is one of the directors of the prime orchard farms. So when this happens, Ramdai and his team realized that there was a form of corruption and they wanted to talk about it. And the best way to silence them was to make them part of the directorate, or what we call the directors of the prime orchard farm. So they actually enlisted Ramdai and Vasdale as part of the directors, and that actually involved them in this matter. So when Musi now is aware of what is happening, and he would want these guys arrested because of this scandal, and he mentions that Jaden should be aware of what happened. I think this is a point where Jaden now realizes that these people have actually caught up with him, and therefore he has to play ball, because if he doesn't arrest these people, then it would mean that that they are going to expose him as well. So the best way now is to come together and probably come up with what we call reinstitution, so that they are not arrested. They wanted a situation where this thing is discussed outside the courtrooms, and I think this is part of Jaden's idea, so that he is not part of this corruption. Of course, he's the designer of it, but he wanted a way out, and therefore now that they have blackmailed him, he felt that there was now need for them to sit down as leaders and talk. And that is Jaden for you. At the very beginning, he looked like he was a very clean person, but at the end of it all, we realized that he's actually the major designer of the grains scandal, one of the greatest in Maracas municipality. Thank you very much. I hope that this has helped you to understand Jaden as a character in The Samaritan.